The conference room smells like Italian leather and fresh espresso. The mahogany table is polished so perfectly you can see your own reflection staring back at you. And for a moment, you barely recognize yourself. There are 7 people in this room. 3 of them are senior partners. 1 is a compliance officer who has not spoken in 40 minutes. And you? You are looking at a spreadsheet with 14 columns and 6,000 rows, each row representing a wire transfer. Each wire transfer carrying money so dirty it might as well be dipped in arterial blood. But nobody here calls it dirty money. They call it high-velocity capital. They call it alternative liquidity streams. They call it Tuesday. And the thing that should terrify you, the thing that should make you push your chair back and walk out of this building and never return, is that you understand every single number on this page. You know exactly where it comes from. You know exactly who dies when it moves. And your life in every rank of the world's most corrupt bank has led you to this moment, where your only concern is whether the decimal points are in the right place. But you were not always this person. So let us go back. Let us go all the way back to the beginning, when you still had a soul worth selling. You are 23 years old. You have a degree in finance from a respectable university, $68,000 in student loan debt, and a rented suit that fits almost well enough to pass. The day you walk into the lobby of the bank for the first time, the floors are white marble. The ceilings are cathedral height. There is a hush to the place, like a hospital or a church, and you feel the same desperate reverence you would feel in either one. They assign you to a cubicle on the 9th floor. Your title is Junior Analyst, Global Transactions Division. Your starting salary is $91,000 a year, which is more money than your mother made in any 2 years of her life combined. You tell yourself you earned this. You tell yourself this is the beginning of something good. And for a while it is. Your job is data. Clean, abstract, beautiful data. You build models, you reconcile accounts, you flag discrepancies in cross-border transfers and send them up the chain to compliance. And you feel genuinely good about this because you believe, in those early months, that compliance actually does something with your flags. Your colleagues are sharp. They wear expensive watches and talk about ski trips to Chamonix, and you start to understand that there is a tier of existence above the one you grew up in, a tier where people do not check their bank balance before ordering dinner. You want access to that tier, not because you are greedy, because you are tired. Tired of calculating, tired of worry, and the bank, with its cathedral ceilings and its espresso machines and its quarterly bonus structure, whispers a very simple promise into your ear. Stay here. Be useful, and you will never have to worry again. Your first bonus is $34,000. You pay off a chunk of your student loans and buy your mother a new refrigerator because her old one has been humming like a dying animal for 3 years. Your second bonus is $51,000. You move into a 1-bedroom apartment with a doorman who knows your name. Your third year, they promote you to senior analyst, and your base salary jumps to $140,000. And this is the year the golden handcuffs click shut around your wrists so gently, you mistake the sound for applause. Because this is the year you stop flagging discrepancies. It is not a dramatic decision. There is no villain twirling a mustache in a corner office. What happens is quieter and far more effective. You flag a series of transfers from a Cayman Islands shell entity to a correspondent account in Zurich. And your direct supervisor, a man named Richard, who wears cashmere and smells like sandalwood, takes you to lunch at a restaurant where the napkins are thicker than your childhood blankets. He does not threaten you. He does not even raise his voice. He tells you a story about a former analyst who flagged too aggressively and was transferred to a back-office role in a regional branch in Ohio, where he spent 4 years reconciling ATM fees before he quietly resigned. Richard orders the sea bass. He tells you that institutional intelligence means understanding which patterns are worth escalating and which patterns are simply the cost of doing business in a global economy. He picks up the check. He tells you that the bank values your discretion as much as your talent. You go back to your desk, You delete the flag. And the strange thing, the thing you will think about years later when you are trying to fall asleep in a penthouse that feels like a mausoleum, is that deleting it felt like nothing. It felt like pressing a button. It felt like the most mundane act in the world. They move you to international wealth management within 18 months. Your new title is Vice President, which in banking means almost nothing and almost everything simultaneously. You are 30 years old. Your salary with bonus compensation now exceeds $400,000 a year. You have a corner office on the 32nd floor with a view of the river, and you manage a portfolio of clients whose combined net worth equals the gross domestic product of a small Central American nation. You do not ask where their money comes from. That is not your function. Your function is optimization, your function is asset allocation and tax-efficient structuring, and the creation of multi-jurisdictional holding entities that make money move like water through a sieve, always flowing, never pooling long enough for anyone to test what is dissolved in it. Your first high-risk client is a man whose file lists his occupation as agricultural export consultant. He operates out of 3 countries, and his deposits arrive in sums that are deliberately structured to fall just below reporting thresholds, a technique so obvious it might as well be written in crayon. You know what this is? Every compliance textbook in existence would call this textbook structuring, textbook laundering, textbook predicate offense. But the man's account generates $600,000 a year in management fees alone, and your division head tells you, during a performance review conducted over 18-year-old Scotch, that the bank's relationship with this client predates your birth. You are not here to audit history. You are here to manage the future. So you manage it. You build him a network of 4 shell companies across 3 jurisdictions, each one layered inside the other like nesting dolls, designed by a paranoid accountant. You route his money through a trust in Liechtenstein, a holding company in the British Virgin Islands, and a real estate investment vehicle in Delaware that purchases commercial property in Miami. By the time his deposits reach their final destination, they have been washed so thoroughly they sparkle, and your bonus that year is $210,000. The second client is worse. The second client is always worse. She is listed as a philanthropist, and her foundation donates to children's hospitals across Southeast Asia. And you discover through a pattern of wire transfers that the foundation is a front for a trafficking network that moves human beings across borders the same way you move capital, efficiently, discreetly, with meticulous attention to logistics. You find this out not because anyone tells you, but because you are very, very good at reading spreadsheets. And spreadsheets do not lie even when every person around them does. You sit with this knowledge for 11 days. You do not sleep well during those 11 days. You think about calling the authorities. You think about your mother's new refrigerator and your apartment with the doorman and the life you have built on the 9th floor and the 32nd floor and every floor in between. On the 12th day, you restructure her accounts to be more tax efficient, and you receive a handwritten thank you note on stationery that costs more per sheet than a meal at the restaurant where Richard bought you sea bass. You frame the note. You hang it in your office. You do not think about what you found. And this is the year you realize that you have become the kind of person you once would have reported. They make you managing director at 36. Your compensation package now includes equity, deferred bonuses, and a retention agreement so dense with legal clauses, it takes 2 attorneys to explain it to you. You oversee a division of 112 people who do exactly what you used to do, and you train them exactly the way Richard trained you. You take them to expensive lunches. You tell them stories about analysts who flagged too aggressively. You teach them the phrase cost of doing business in a global economy, and you watch their eyes change the way yours did. That slow dimming, that gentle replacement of conscience with arithmetic. Then the crisis arrives. And it arrives the way crises always do in banking, not with a gunshot, but with an email. A mid-level compliance officer named Sarah Chen has been conducting an unauthorized internal audit. She has compiled a report that documents 17 years of suspicious activity across your division, including names, account numbers, transfer routes, and estimated total laundered volume exceeding $11 billion. She has sent this report to a journalist at a major financial newspaper. You learn about this at 6:14 in the morning when the general counsel calls your personal cell phone and uses the phrase existential reputational risk event, which is corporate language for the building is on fire and we need to decide who burns. You do not panic. Panic is for people who have not rehearsed this scenario. You have rehearsed it in your mind every night for years, the way a surgeon rehearses catastrophic blood loss, clinically, procedurally, without emotion. You convene a meeting within 90 minutes. In the room are the general counsel, the head of government affairs, an outside crisis communications firm that charges $40,000 a day, and two partners from a law firm whose name you have seen on the side of buildings. You do not discuss guilt or innocence. You discuss containment. The strategy is elegant in its cruelty. First, you discredit Sarah Chen. The outside investigators discover, or rather construct, a narrative that she has a history of performance issues, that she was denied a promotion 8 months ago, that she has been in contact with a short seller who stands to profit from the bank's stock decline. None of this is entirely false. None of it is entirely true. But truth is not the operating principle here. Plausibility is. Second, you engage the journalist, not with threats, but with access. You offer an exclusive interview with the bank's CEO, a first-of-its-kind transparency initiative, a carefully staged mea culpa, in which the bank admits to minor compliance failures in a legacy division that has since been restructured. You sacrifice a mid-level executive, a man named David who is 2 years from retirement, and whose severance package will be generous enough to ensure his silence. David is collateral damage. David is a rounding error. Third, you lobby. Your government affairs team has 14 meetings in Washington over the span of 3 weeks. Campaign contributions are made. Policy positions are aligned. A congressional inquiry is opened, held for 4 months, produces a 200-page report that recommends enhanced oversight mechanisms, and is forgotten by the news cycle within 6 days. Sarah Chen is terminated for cause. The journalist publishes a watered-down version of the story that focuses on systemic industry failures rather than your bank specifically. The stock price dips 4% on the day of publication and recovers within 2 weeks. Your performance review that quarter uses the phrase exceptional crisis leadership. Your bonus is $1.2 million, and then they give you the throne, Chief Executive Officer. You are 44 years old. Your net worth, on paper, exceeds $2 billion. You have a house in Connecticut, an apartment in Manhattan, a villa on the coast of Portugal that you have visited exactly twice. Your children attend schools whose tuition exceeds the median household income of the country you operate in. You have everything, and on your first morning in the corner office on the 58th floor, you sit in a chair that costs more than a car, and you open your laptop, and the first thing you see is a message from the chairman of the board of directors. It contains one line: Q3 margins are down 40 basis points. We need to discuss. This is the moment you understand. You are not the king. You have never been the king. You are the most expensive employee in the building, but you are still an employee. And the board of directors, those 12 men and women who sit in a room you are sometimes not invited into, they will do to you exactly what you did to David, exactly what you did to Sarah Chen, exactly what you have spent 20 years learning to do to anyone who threatens the only thing that matters, the quarterly earnings report. You are replaceable. You have always been replaceable. The machine does not need you. It needs a body in this chair, a signature on the filings, a face for the cameras when the next crisis arrives. And it will arrive. And when it does, they will find your replacement over scotch and sea bass, and they will not think about you again. You lean back. You look at the river through the window. The sun catches the water and it looks almost beautiful, almost clean, like money after it has been washed enough times. And you realize that the only difference between the junior analyst on the 9th floor and the chief executive on the 58th is the size of the cage and the quality of the lock. The spreadsheet is still open on your screen. 6,000 rows, 14 columns, every decimal point in its right place. And somewhere, far away, in a country you will never visit, someone's life is a line item, and the column header reads acceptable loss.